Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's June 23rd, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to today with the ins and outs of Iran peace negotiations. Trump lying again, as per usual. Take a look at these latest developments. Again, Trump fact-checked on the X for lying. Take a look at all these developments back and forth between us, America, Iran. I think we even have a little bit of Pakistan in there, as they are acting as the mediaries. Take a look at all this. The Senate actually did its job. Shocking, I know. That should be the headline. Shocking, U.S. Senate does its job. They had a vote to restrict Trump's war powers. Take a look at that earlier today. What else do we got? We got a couple court rulings. They threw the book at these Antifas, man. 100 years in jail, 100 years in prison. We'll take a look at that. They threw the book at these guys, these Antifas out of Texas. We got de facto martial law there in D.C. around the reflecting pool. What a great use of time, effort, energy, and resources. So martial law at the deflecting pool, the reflecting pool. We got some more reporting on the Flamingo Revolution going on in Albania against old Jared Kushner. We'd love to see that. What else do we got? Some more Epstein reporting. The Bill Gates transcript was released today. We'll take a look at that from his deposition at the House Oversight Committee last week. We'll take a look at that. A couple other Epstein reports. We got a bunch of economic reporting, geopolitical news, Lebanon, and Gaza news as well. They're still whacking people. They're still whacking people, stacking bodies in Lebanon and in Gaza. We're going to take a look at all that and much more on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Shout out to those in the chat there. I see Karen on the Rumble and Mac. Mac says, is that crazy man still in office? Oh, he's talking about Putin. Yeah, Putin's still in office. I know, Mac. It's horrific. All right, let's get to this day in history. Let's get to this day in history. On this day, we didn't have that many events that I felt were that significant. Anyhow, on this date, 1724, Russia and Turkey signed the Treaty of Constantinople on June 23rd, 1724. On this day in 1794, big screw up by Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great, Empress of Russia, grants aardvarks permission to settle in Kiev. So a big screw up there would later come back to haunt Russia. On this day in 1810, John Jacob Astor organizes the Pacific Fur Company in Astoria, Oregon. On this day, 1868, Scholes and Glidden typewriter, Christopher Latham Scholes patents the Scholes and Glidden typewriter, the first commercially successful typewriter offered at the time, 1868. Helping out with the free speech there with the Glidden typewriter, patented on this day. 1919, on this day, Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, is incorporated. 1943, on this day, RAF discovers Werner von Braun's German V-1, V-2 rocket development base in Peenemünde. And then old Werner von Braun, via Operation Paperclip, came on to lead America's space program. So we do appreciate the efforts of, I guess, the U.S., right, to integrate Nazis into our government, a la Operation Paperclip. We do appreciate those efforts. 1947, on this day, then U.S. President Truman vetoes Taft-Hartley Act, restricting the powers of trade unions. It then goes on to be overridden by Congress and becomes law. On this day, 1967, 10,000 demonstrate against the Vietnam War outside Century Plaza Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Police disperse the crowd violently. 1972, on this day, then U.S. President Nixon and Chief of Staff H.R. Handelman agree to use the CIA to cover up Watergate. Also on this day, then U.S. President Nixon signs Title IX into law, prohibiting sexual discrimination in federally funded education programs and expanding opportunities for women and girls in school and college sports. See, Nixon covering up crimes and also looking out for women's rights. Now that's a president, right? On the same day in the year 1972. 2016, on this day, we saw a ceasefire agreement signed between the Colombian government and the FARC rebels, ending nearly 50 years of war. And on this day, 2020, we saw the bat cases. The bat cases rose sharply on this day in America as the country records its third highest daily total, more than 35,000 bat cases on this day, 2020. And so don't you miss those times of terror brought to us by John Hopkins and all your television stations. We had a death count, that case count, and we're still not allowed to talk about it. We've already exposed it thoroughly here at Weaponized News. But yeah, everybody that still doesn't know, you should actually go back and take a look about what actually happened, because we were thoroughly, let's just say, lied to about the bat times. And on this day, in our civil liberties history, we go back to the year 1947. Justice Black argues for total incorporation of the Bill of Rights. The case of Adamson versus California, decided by the Supreme Court on this day, involved defendant Admiral Dewey Adamson's Fifth Amendment rights in a state criminal trial. It is most remembered for Justice Black's dissent regarding the incorporation of the entire Bill of Rights into the 14th Amendment, which would make its protections applicable to the states. The Supreme Court had started the process of selective incorporation in Gitlow versus New York, decided on June 8, 1925, in which the court incorporated the free speech and free press clauses into the 14th Amendment. In his dissent in Adamson, Black vigorously argued that the 14th Amendment should incorporate all of the First 8 amendments. The Supreme Court has never accepted Black's argument and has continued to the process of selective incorporation. Had the court accepted Black's argument in 1947, the history of civil liberties would have been very different and better for the rights of Americans. On this day, 1972, of course, the Nixon White House smoking gun meeting. Nixon obstructs justice. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up that gets you. And then on this day in 2016, Supreme Court upholds University of Texas affirmative action plan in a 4-3 vote. The Supreme Court on this day upheld University of Texas affirmative action plan for admission to the university. Justice Kennedy, who had been the swing vote in close decisions, voted with the majority and wrote the majority opinion. The 4-3 vote was due to the vacancy created by the death of Justice Anton Scalia and the recusal of Elena Kagan, who had participated in the case as a member of the Obama administration. Wow, imagine that. They actually had some type of ethics there at the Supreme Court. Shocking. That's actually the story out of this story, is they actually decided to recuse themselves there out of a conflict of interest. Shocking, I know. Here's the segue to the news. Trump at a rally. Was he doing some type of workers' rally at a Mack truck facility earlier today? And it's played out. It's lame. It's tired. It's bored. It's boring. And impeach Trump's ass already. Yeah, it doesn't hit anymore, Orange Man. It just simply doesn't hit anymore. There's Trump lying about the well, he's going to tell us what's going on with Iran right now. But he is lying about this one point.
You want to see trouble? Let them have a nuclear weapon. We're doing very well with Iran. They've been decimated, and we're making a deal with them, and we'll see how that all goes. And right now, as you probably heard yesterday, we had 19 barrels of oil, 19 million barrels of oil come off, and that's the biggest in the history of the Strait, the Hormuz Strait. Our stock market is through the roof, and oil prices are tumbling. We actually hit for a moment today. In fact, I think it's going to break it, $70 a barrel. That's lower than we were when we started, and it's been amazing. And the big thing is, Iran will not have a nuclear
lower than when we started. He's lying right here. It's been debunked already, where he said yesterday we had 19 million barrels of oil come out of the Strait of Hormuz, the biggest in history. That's not true. It's simply not true. Here's the fact check, actually. Where is the fact check here? Here's the fact check on the eggs. Oil prices are tumbling down. That is true. And the world is a much safer place. That's not true. But the 19 million barrels of oil flowed out of the Hormuz Strait yesterday, an all-time record. Oil prices are tumbling down, and the world is a much safer place. Flows, and the fact check says, flows through the Strait of Hormuz have averaged around 20 million barrels per day in recent years, with a peak of 21.9 million barrels per day in 2020. The claim that 19 million barrels is a record is not true. Yeah, Trump's a congenital liar. Here's Trump praising his achievement of peace with Iran. There's not a peace deal yet. There's a MOU that they'll talk about a peace deal, but Trump overselling it again here now.
As you know, we just achieved a historic peace agreement with Iran to end the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, yesterday, 19...
How's this a great victory? He started the conflict. It's just so stupid.
million barrels of oil flowed out of the...
I can't take the lies, but yeah, he was lying all over the place as per usual today. Getting his lies debunked. What does Iran have to say about all this? Iran tells Hamas it is raising Gaza genocide in the talks with Washington. Iran Foreign Minister Argachai told Hamas in a phone call earlier today with the deputy head of Hamas's Arab and Islamic Relations Office that Iran has been pressing the issue of Aardvarkland's continued assault on Gaza with American negotiators and mediators. The Palestinian Resistance Group said in an official statement, according to Hamas, the two discussed, that would be Iran and Hamas, the latest developments in the Iran-U.S. negotiations and the Palestinian issue, particularly developments related to the Gaza Strip. They haven't really said, Iran hasn't really said Gaza is a sticking point. They have said Lebanon is a sticking point in all of this. 76% of Americans support U.S.-Iran peace deal. This is a meme out of the White House. Like, seriously, dude? Now, the right can't meme. The White House can't meme. They lost their magic. They lost the meme magic. All they can do is pump propaganda and lies and cue psyops. They've lost the meme magic there out of the White House. Now the right can't meme. So good job, losers. Strait of Hormuz crossing nearly tripled. Nearly tripled. There is traffic moving through there, but the greatest, most oil ever trafficked through there? Nah, not so much, Trump. Vessel activity through the Strait of Hormuz has rebounded sharply across 2 consecutive weekends, pointing to a clear shift in traffic patterns. Maritime traffic tracker app on the X reports here now. So that's good news to get the commerce flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is recovering under Iran's management. This is another big sticking point about who's going to have the gun pointed at your face while you drive through the Strait of Hormuz. Is it going to be Iran, America, somebody else? It looks like Iran wants that duty of racketeering at the Strait of Hormuz. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is recovering under Iran's management as Iran and Oman move forward a new navigation framework under the MOU agreement with the U.S. Here are some of the key updates as of earlier today. Maritime traffic and Kepler data show confirmed Hormuz crossings have tripled week on week, raising from 32 vessels last week to 93 this week, with the biggest jump on Saturday from 3 to 42 crossings. The rebound follows recent diplomatic progress and a temporary U.S. OFAC general license for Iranian exports, easing compliance uncertainty through August 21st. Windward data also recorded 36 vessel transits yesterday. So things are moving there a little bit. Despite the recovery, shipping remains well below pre-war levels of 120 to 140 vessels per day, with vessels still navigating heightened security risks, mine threats, and evolving transit rules. Meanwhile, Iran and Oman have agreed to negotiate future navigation services and the costs associated with them through a joint working group, signaling that a new long-term framework for commercial transit through the Strait of Hormuz is taking shape. An unofficial analysis shows implied crude flows have rebounded sharply, pushing the 7-day moving average from roughly 4 million to over 8.1 million barrels per day, with Iranian exports also rising in recent days. Yeah, Trump way oversold that. So little Marco, Secretary of State's running around saying, nope, there will be no fee for transit there. Iran and Oman have other plans. We'll see how this sorts out. They're laying that down as part of the peace negotiations as well here now. Who is going to control the Strait of Hormuz? No fees, Iran says. It's for environmental and your own safety, as they point a gun at your face. Pay the fee, bro. It's for your safety. Oh, okay. We'll pay the fee. Iran's deputy foreign minister and chief technical negotiator, Kazem Garibabadi, said the four-nation talks in Switzerland have concluded with agreements on implementing the war-ending memorandum and on the framework for future negotiations, according to Iran's state-affiliated media outfit, Mer news agency. On the frozen assets, he said agreements to release $12 billion in frozen Iranian assets in two $6 billion tranches will enter the implementation phase immediately. It was this dude. I haven't seen much of this dude, but he's part of the negotiations there in Switzerland. That dude, they haven't whacked him yet. I'm sure he's on the list. Let's see. More from President of Iran. Again, in large part a figurehead. They're using him in that capacity here now to be part of these negotiations. Iran President Pezeshkian met with Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif during an official visit to Islamabad, where the two sides discussed bilateral relations, regional developments, economic cooperation, and international affairs. They both said that the ballistic missile program of Iran is not part of ongoing peace negotiations. And we've seen those, who is it, Vance? I think even little Marco, maybe. At least Vance, I know. He said, well, they have a right to defend themselves. So their ballistic missile program is off the table as part of peace negotiations here now by a few different accounts out there from U.S. and Iranian sides, actually. Tehran rejects U.S. role in managing released Iranian funds. Iran's envoy said earlier today that Tehran alone will determine how to use assets frozen under a deal with the United States, rejecting claims that Washington would have control of the funds or that they must be spent on U.S. goods. Remember, the talk yesterday was that, oh yeah, don't worry about that the unfrozen funds of the Iranians. Don't worry about that. We're going to force them at the point of a gun to buy U.S. GMO to go ahead and do a slow kill depop program on their population. They're feeding them GMO, as we do here in America for national security purposes, of course. Turns out Iran says, not so much. We want to spend our money however we want to spend our money that you stole from us. So it looks like that's going to be a point of contention here now in peace negotiations. Who controls Iran stolen funds? And will they be forced to buy American-made GMOs? More on the Iran deal from Orange Man.
What will you say to allies of yours like Senator Cruz who've been critical of the Iran deal?
Well, I think anybody that's been critical of it has to be educated, even if they're friends of mine, because we have Iran in a position that.
There you go. We need to be re-educated with the WWE Federal Department of Education about this Iran deal. We just don't understand. No, we do understand. Trump's full of shit, got played by Aardvark Land, by Bibi. He's trying to cover his tracks and figure out some way out of this nightmare. The Washington Compost, old Fox News Corp property there, not so happy with the deal. Iran getting $10 billion oil boost from U.S. before signing a full nuclear deal. Easy moolah. I guess that's better than the headline where they say he's fake and gay and arms and legs blowing off there of the old Supreme Leader Khomeini. Trigger warning. The Congress is actually doing its job. Shocking, I know. Senate votes to limit Trump's Iran war powers in rare rebuke. The Senate adopted a resolution earlier today directing the president to remove military forces from the conflict with Iran, a significant rebuke to President Trump and a strong message that the war lacks support in Congress. Democrats have repeatedly forced votes to limit Trump's war powers in both the House and the Senate, a campaign that was gradually picked up by more and more GOP support in recent weeks, drawing the president's ire. GOP Senators Rand Paul, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Bill Cassidy joined Democrats in voting for the resolution, while Senate Democrat John Fetterman, never saw Aardvark he didn't like, right? Joined the Republicans voting against it. The final tally was 50-48. The absence of Senator Mitch McConnell, who's dead. No, he's not dead yet. He's in poor health, let's just say. Well, they should have just voted. Just do the Weekend at Bernie's thing, hold up his arm. You know what I mean? Wheel him out there dead. You know what I mean? And just hold his arm up. Weekends at Bernie's. Yeah, we're for the war. All right, Turtle Man. We knew it. No, seriously, though, the absence of, and seriously, how are the people of Kentucky being represented by their senator who's had, 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes publicly? We don't even know. Turtle Mitch can't even freaking talk, walk. Has to be wheeled around in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's a great representative for Kentucky, I'm sure, when they voted in that Gilrain over Massey. So Representative Corpse there, Weekend at Bernie's, Mitch McConnell out of Kentucky was absent, and so was Dave McCormick, who had previously voted against advancing war powers resolution. So if those guys would have been there, they could have kept the illegal, unconstitutional foreign war of aggression going. So sadly enough, due to poor health, Turtle Mitch has forced the Senate to actually follow the Constitution. I know it's triggering to Trump and all of MAGA tyrants out there. It has no significance, the White House says. White House officials reject House War Powers resolution, saying it carries no force of law and never reaches the president. There are no hostilities to terminate. U.S. operation ended April 7th. And these are lawyers playing semantical games with people's lives, truly disgusting criminals. And now let's have some joy, since it's been kind of a downer show bashing Trump a little bit here at the beginning. Let's have some joy here. It was such a joy getting to spend time with Joe, Jill, George, and Laura, and Bill and Hillary last week. Let's have a flashback to the President Obama Presidential Center, the monstrosity known as the Obama Library there in Chicago. Here's a joyful post from Michelle Obama, where all these ex-presidents should be not able to walk the streets, as the Q PSYOP told us. They should be shamed out of public life, honestly. But we're in idiot America, and so we love our war criminals here. I still need the Democrats to explain to me how you give George Bush a pass, but somehow, some way they have, because having a memory of those who have committed war crimes in your names is a conspiracy theory, apparently.
Michelle, I got something for you.
Our mint exchange.
That's a pretty color on it.
Thank you, Dale.
I just saw that new portrait of you and Barack with the collage.
Yeah, the
really
artist, Indijeka Crosby. She
good.
lives in LA.
And where did you grow up? I grew up South Shore, so south of here, maybe about 10 blocks from here.
And I love this. This looks so great. Yeah.
Is that University of Chicago?
That's University of Chicago right there.
Millie and Sasha were born at the University of Chicago.
They were born
Yeah.
here.
A lot of good stuff happening.
Here in your life.
So, have you played that little golf course over there?
That's where I learned.
So cute.
Safe. 3, 2, 1. Everybody ready at me? 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
God, what a pack of disgusting criminal liars. They're even telling lies in that little video to each other. It's just like, wow, man. Trump effort to expand speedy deportations of migrants can proceed. Appeals court rules. Report out of CNN here now. A federal appeals court handed President Trump a significant win in his mass deportation efforts with a ruling earlier today reviving his administration's move to speed up deportations of undocumented immigrants in the United States. The ruling from the U.S. District D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals allows the Trump administration to cast a wider net over who's subject to fast-track deportation procedure known as expedited removal, which allows immigration authorities to remove an individual from the country without a hearing before an immigration judge. The decision allows the administration to move forward with its plan to quickly deport undocumented immigrants who are residing in the United States and cannot prove they lived in the country continuously for 2 years or more. A trial court had previously blocked the administration's January 21st, 2025 maneuver to expand the policy beyond just migrants who were apprehended within 100 miles of a land border and within 14 days of arrival. So we're getting our mass deportations now? I don't know. We shall see. We shall see how the Trump administration uses this court ruling. MK Ultra, Anna Paulina Luna says next Tuesday we're going to have MK Ultra hearings there in the Congress. Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets presents MK Ultra hearing next Tuesday. we'll be covering it here at Weaponized News. She says the intelligence community has covered up the nature and classification of the MK Ultra experiments for decades. Americans have been misdirected repeatedly and deserve transparency and accountability from the CIA. Yeah, good luck with that. We're all victims of MK Ultra here now, as they've institutionalized MK Ultra for a whole of society approach to mind control. So they're going after a coffee shop here now in New York for antiseptic behavior. New York coffee shop bans pro-aardvark land politician in nasty post despite promise to treat all customers with unconditional dignity. Now the Justice Department is going after Poetica Coffee in Brooklyn, New York. Federal law prohibits accommodations such as coffee shops from discriminating against patrons based on their race, religion, or national origin. These actions are not only reprehensible, they're potentially illegal. The Civil Rights Division has opened an investigation and will bring an enforcement action if warranted against this coffee shop. So as long as our priorities are in place in this country, martial law at the reflecting pool, DOJ Civil Rights Division targeting a coffee shop there in Brooklyn, and going after Antifa. Leader of North Texas Antifa operatives for Texas ICE facility ambush gets 100 years. 100 years in prison. Wow, they threw the book at this guy. Federal judge earlier today handed down massive prison terms totaling nearly 5 centuries to 8 members of a North Texas Antifa cell, including a 100-year sentence for the group's leader following a historic domestic terrorism trial tied to a violent ambush at an immigration center there in Texas. This guy got 100 freaking years. Benjamin Song, 25 years old. Wowzers. 5 of Song's co-defendants were each sentenced to 50 years in federal prison. Dude, don't play with these feds. They'll kill you or throw your ass in prison for life. Keep telling people, don't threaten them. Don't fall for the psyops. And they threw the book at these freaking Texas Antifas, man. Damn. Here's right from the Justice Department. They say leader of Antifa cell members in North Texas sentenced to 100 years in prison for terrorist attack on ICE facility. 7 additional defendants also sentenced before 1-year anniversary of attack to combined 450 years in prison. Damn, man. They threw the book at these guys. And part of their attack was throwing fireworks at this ICE detention facility in Texas. Right here, they exploding fireworks. Dude, you caught freaking 100-year freaking prison term for this idiot behavior. Oh, it said F you pigs too. Maybe that's okay. F you pigs. No, but seriously, damn, man. They threw the book at them. They vandalized, they slashed the tires on this immigration van and wrote F you pigs on a little patrol shack they had there. And wow, man. Justice Department said the sentences handed down today make clear that Antifa terrorists who attack law enforcement and federal facilities will face swift and uncompromising justice. I don't know about swift. It took them a year, but okay. Their violent extremism has no place in our country, and the Department of Justice will continue to aggressively investigate, disrupt, and prosecute those who threaten law enforcement officers or undermine the rule of law. Wow. They're not joking about that. They're not joking about that. They handed down a 100-year prison sentence, a 70-year prison sentence, a bunch of 50-year prison sentences, and one 30-year prison sentence. So I guess they went light on the guy they gave 30-year prison sentence. Jeez. 6 people have been arrested and 7 have been cited for the damage they did to our country's now beautiful reflecting pool, Trump says. So we have de facto martial law there. You would think they would release the video footage of Trump's claim here, the 350-foot gash made by a very sharp knife or razors. You would think they'd put out video of that claim that Team Algae did this damage. Here's DC TMZ footage of fences now going up around the reflecting pool for America 250 celebration of martial law in Washington, D.C. around the reflecting pool. So no better way to celebrate 250 years of independence from tyranny than having martial law at the reflecting pool, right? Sure. Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, vandals beware, AI surveillance cams go up. Here's the, that's a part of the thumbnail for today. Here's the surveillance cams that have gone up. Now there's fences. The National Guard are guarding it, and routine helicopter patrols as well. It's just like, wow. Talk about overkill and oversell. Trump has lost his magic and is now overreaching on everything, and the desperation is showing there to celebrate America's independence from tyranny. We have a bunch of tyranny in DC. Yeah, so you can see there in the images from TMZ. I think we showed the video of them rolling out that AI surveillance tower yesterday. America's 250th anniversary celebrations get trumped. This is a report out of AFP. U.S. President Trump has tried his best to ensure that America's 250th birthday celebrations revolve around one man, Donald Trump. In a country whose founding fathers declared there should be no kings in America, the 47th president has other ideas. Trump has canceled a planned Independence Day event on July 4th in Washington, D.C. to stage his own Make America Great Again rally. What a load of shit. You know what I mean? America 250 is not MAGA and it's not Trump. So it's just, what a greedy, narcissistic little freaking orange asshole, man. Literally ruining America's 250th anniversary here now due to his own narcissism. Trump's headlining America 250 because nobody wants to be around this toxic asshole is what it amounts to here now. Because everybody can see the writing on the wall. You hit your wagon to Trump, you're going down. You're going down. Trump to present World Cup trophy at final. FIFA boss confirms. Trump has to inject himself into everything, put his name on all these buildings, and just always make something out of nothing, right? Propaganda and lies Now he's injecting himself into the FIFA World Cup. Trump could skip World Cup games, though, as savage crowd chants over toxic Epstein ties go viral. And so there's a bunch of these stadiums hosting these soccer games that crowds are chanting, mocking Trump over his ties with Epstein. So that will continue here now. So Trump may not even show his face at a World Cup soccer game due to fear of being booed and taunted and called out by the crowd. We shall see. We shall see. Some in Australia, crowd reportedly chanting Donald Trump is a sex offender. Yeah. So Trump may not even show his face, as it should be. All of these politicians should be publicly shamed to the point where they're too ashamed to show their faces in public because they're all giant criminals. Flashback, Patrick Halley reminds us that Albania was the site of the fictional war in the Wag the Dog film that came out in 1997. Now it's the site of mass protest against Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, for stealing their land. Truth, as usual, is stranger than fiction. Remember this? She had the cat in Wag the Dog in the False Flag movie production. Wag the Dog, remember? She had the cat to sell it. That was Albania. And the reason I bring up Wag the Dog flashback is protest in Albania. It's now being coined the Flamingo Revolution in Albania. Protesters in Albania vandalized the construction site of a former luxury development in a coastal area in the south of the country. Fury over luxury resort projects, including one backed by Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has sparked the protest. Here's a little bit of video from Reuters about said protest, the Flamingo Revolution going on there in Albania. Albania not putting up with Kushner and the Rothschilds trying to steal their land. Here's an image of they're claiming 1 million. I don't know if it was 1 million. It was a lot, though. It was a lot at this protest. I think this was a few days ago in Albania. But to kill the music because they want to copyright tag everything for freaking 1 second. But anyway, did have good music in it, but you could see quite a crowd. I don't know if it's 1 million, but they did fill up the streets there and put on quite a protest for the cameras, as you can see in Albania, the Flamingo Revolution. Oh man. Okay, I hit the wrong button. Apologies there. I'm going to get back to where I was. Too many tabs. Okay, here we go. And then I thought I would just, this is not even related, but throw up some flamingos in honor of the Albanian Flamingo Revolution. There you go. Those are pink flamingos out of Florida. Unrelated story, but I just thought, what the hell? Let's throw in some flamingos there. Why is the reflecting pool getting more attention in the media than the Epstein crime story? Good question. Another distraction. The White House is getting desperate. They're putting out Q PSYOP memes from official government accounts. They're getting desperate. Look that way, look anywhere but at the corrupt man in the arena, Donald Trump. Right? And so the reflecting pool, martial law, the reflecting pool. And they'll keep having these distractions. Hell, they started a war with Iran to distract away from the Epstein files. Bill Gates' testimony on Jeffrey Epstein ties released by House Oversight Committee today. A transcript of the testimony that Bill Gates gave to a House committee about his relationship with Epstein was released today. Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, in his June 10th testimony expressed regret about his contacts with Epstein, which he said were designed to win financial support for the Gates Foundation, his philanthropic venture. See, Bill Gates is such a humanitarian philanthropist. He's willing to put himself up for potential blackmail to get money to help fund the depopulation of poor children in the third world because of philanthropy, you see. I should never have met with Epstein in the first place, Gates said. Let's see. What is it? It's 138 pages. 138 pages here. The transcript. I'll post it at Weaponized News Substack. Here's a summary and a breakdown of some of the highlights. Bill Gates expressed regret for meeting Epstein, denied knowledge of Epstein's criminal activities during their association. See, he knew nothing. Denied any sexual involvement or witnessing misconduct, and supported releasing all Epstein files for victims' justice. Gates met Epstein 3 times in 2011 via Dr. Boris Nicola. He had limited dinners, meetings focused on science, business, and philanthropy fundraising ideas. Aware of Epstein's prior sex crime conviction, early but not full extent or registered sex offender status until 2018. Epstein pitched raising funds for Gates Foundation global health work in 2013. Gates rebuffed tax estate advice offers, rejected Epstein's social invites, islands, shows, no visits to most Epstein properties, no socializing, denied witnessing massages, young women or girls, except one minor with a mother, sex acts, or any other misconduct, into direct contact with Epstein late 2014. Epstein later sought reimbursement for expenses related to Gates' affair with Mila and Antonova. So that was his Bill Gates alleged Epstein blackmail attempt on him for his marital affairs. No financial deals, investments, NDAs, or inside info shared with Epstein. no hiring requests, denied Epstein blackmail attempts, or knowledge of cameras, art for that purpose. So, see, Bill Gates knew nothing. We should totally 100% believe him, right? Because he's a great philanthropist trying to depopulate the third world children. DOJ facing legal consequences over Todd Blanche's Epstein redactions. The Department of Justice could abruptly be forced to divulge secrets about acting Attorney General Todd Blanche's handling of the Epstein files. American Oversight, a nonpartisan watchdog group, filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the DOJ yesterday after the agency denied an expedited release of records tied to Blanche's oversight of Epstein. The suit demands that records by July 14th, one day before Blanche faces the Senate Judiciary Committee for his confirmation hearings as the nation's next Attorney General, former Attorney General Pam Bondi told House investigators she delegated oversight over the process to then Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, placing him in charge of the review of the Epstein files. She said it's on him. He said it's on her. Again, the Spider-Man meme of blame the other guy. No one ever wants to take responsibility or be held accountable for doxing the victims, for the redactions, and for more than half of the files we don't even have, and we probably never will. The DOJ missed its legal deadline to release the files. When they came out, the survivors' names were exposed, while powerful men's names remained redacted. Yeah, they doxed the victims, kept secret, redacted the names of Epstein co-conspirators. That's Trump's former personal attorney, at the time assistant attorney general, now acting attorney general, up for confirmation to become attorney general. And so we do appreciate the cover-ups, lies, propaganda coming out of the Todd Blanche Department of Justice, the biggest cover-up in American history. The Epstein files continues here now. Epstein's former pal, Les Wexner, applauds Harvard keeping his name on campus buildings. Yeah, Harvard, they're real pieces of shite here now, aren't they? And so the Kennedy School dean, Jeremy M., wait for it, Weinstein, told affiliates the effort to remove Wexner's name was ultimately blocked by the university's legal obligations. As for those obligations might be, Wexner says he's not sure. The controversy stems from Wexner's longtime association. Well, Epstein had his power of attorney, was basically running Wexner's finances. Managed his finances for years, says here. So hiding behind the legality of removing Les Wexner's name from Harvard buildings, it will remain there. Two prominent spaces in Harvard's Kennedy School will still display Les Wexner's PDF name there. Kushner was with MBS and Shabati, scheduled time for Friends with Tel Aviv and Epstein when QAnon was born. The first QAnon drop was October 28, 2017. And yeah, it's looking like it was all cooked up. Part of Epstein, Steve Bannon cooking up Epstein or cooking up Q. And still, you can't break people in the Q cult of the mind control out there. Wake up. There are no good guys in government. Like, that's your number one thing. There's no good guys in government. It's an organized crime syndicate running military-grade psychological operations against you. You should be very offended and upset by the actions of your government, not cheering them on that there's secret good guys. They're simply not. Dan Bongino, zero. This is how he makes a zero. There are no good guys in the government. I'm sorry to report to you here now at Weaponized News. Break the mind control. Q dupes. Here's a MTG on the Q post by the White House yesterday.
You know, I used to follow Q back in 2017 when those posts were actually made. The whole trust the plan thing. The White House is posting Q propaganda on its social media accounts, and I want you guys to know something. I think you should know this. Back during the 2020 campaign and the 2024 campaign, where, by the way, I spoke at more Trump rallies than any elected Republican, the Trump team would throw out people, any rally attendee, if they had a Q shirt, QAnon, Storm has arrived, where we go one, we go all. If they were wearing a hat, a shirt, a button, or had a flag or anything, they were kicked out, or they were made to change their shirt, take off that hat. And during Trump's speech in 2024, when it was the nation in decline part of the speech with the really sad music, anytime these attendees would put their finger, like make a number one, and they pointed to the sky, security was sent around, and they were forced to take their finger down and told not to do that. You want to know why? Because Trump team did not want to be associated with the QAnon crowd, and they were embarrassed of the Q people and embarrassed of all of that, and that's how they treated them. But now, fast forward to 2026, when it's Trump himself that has betrayed the America First wing of MAGA and turned MAGA into Israel First, and he has totally flipped on a bunch of his campaign promises. Well, now they're trying to throw out the Q slop and propaganda to get you guys sucked back in. Never forget how you were treated. Never forget.
Apparently, MAGA are sadomasochists. They like being abused by an orange con man. Break the mind control. All right. Let's take our live commercial break. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Give me that like, share, subscribe. Push that notification button. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. We have the holograph sticker over there. All the colors of the rainbow for this Pride Month. If you don't like that, we have the white background sticker and the clear sticker there. We've got stickers, baseball caps, coffee mugs, t-shirts. weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's in the description below this video. Any which way you choose to support this broadcast is appreciated. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App. Links are all in the description below this video. Give us a donation if you don't want to patron the store. Become a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. Links in the description below this video. We give everything away free here at Weaponized News. Nothing behind a paywall. No special members club and all this I see a bunch of other people doing. We don't do that here. Everything's free. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time, Weaponized News Substack. Become a paid subscriber. We appreciate it. It's all free. You'll get the show. It's streaming there live, the full show, a summary of the show, and links to almost everything we talk about at Weaponized News Substack there for documentation and further research purposes. Any which way you choose to support us is much appreciated. Thank you to the patrons to the store, the paid subscribers, and the donors out there in the audience. You know who you are. Thank you very much for your contributions monetarily to the operation over here. And thank you to all the unpaid, become paid, support independent reporting and analysis at Weaponized News. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All of that is free for you. All right. Thank you for bearing with me through that commercial message. weaponizednews.com/shop. Back to the second half of the show on this Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026 edition. We're on to the economic section, and the military-industrial complex is hell-bent to bleed this country dry. Pentagon seeks an additional $8 billion from Congress for the Iran war. You can see right here, the Pentagon has told senators it needs roughly $8 billion, mostly to cover the cost of the U.S. war against Iran, adding to what is already a sizable military spending boost being sought by President Trump. This is on top of the $1.5 trillion that these criminals are trying to take from the U.S. Treasury, from the taxpayers' pockets. Now, we'll have more on that. Old Pete Hegseth's essentially racketeering is what it is. And we'll take a look at it here. U.S. Mint to produce a limited edition 4th of July Declaration of Independence quarters. And here's what those will look like. Probably making fun of us as they do. Never forget, during the bat times, they actually put out a bat quarter right there. Don't forget the mockery coming out of the Treasury Department. Here are these, they're going to mint 250,000. They probably, they're collector's items, right? You and I, Joe Blow citizen, will not have access. Only Trump and MAGA will have access. No, I made that part up, but wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at this point. But here is an image of these special coins right here. Declaration of Independence, 250,000. And I believe in the numismatic market of collectible coins, these will hold significant value. As far as how you get a hold of one of them, good luck. You know what I mean? Good luck. But it says the United States Mint will produce 250,000 semi-quincentennial 2026 Declaration of Independence quarters featuring a special July 4th Pivy mark in celebration of America's 250th anniversary, bearing no mint mark. These unique quarters will be placed randomly into circulation, offering Americans a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to discover a piece of history in everyday transactions. Keep an eye out for these. If it's true, and I don't believe anything the government says, but if it is true, if you spy one of these quarters in your change, also incentive to keep using cash to help stave off these digital currencies as long as we can. But if you happen to come across one of these in your cash transactions, I'd be willing to bet it's worth a hell of a lot more than a quarter, just simply based on the limited supply of 250,000. I'm sure it'll be all divvied up to insiders, and so they can get richer, and we'll all be looking for these semi-quincentennial coins. All right. Well, they're busting a bunch of fraudsters again, but let's put it in some perspective. Well, I do agree we need to shut down the fraud. Old cover-up Epstein Files cover-up artist Todd Blanche announces today that they charged 455 defendants across 45 states and territories for healthcare fraud schemes involving over $6.5 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other programs. That's about 2.5 days of interest on the U.S. national debt, $6.5 billion, just to put the dollar amount in proper perspective for you. And Dr. Fauci will face no repercussions for the bat tyranny he bestowed upon us. Now on to the racketeering operation known as the Department of War here. Pete Hegseth has authored, he can write, apparently, we're told, an op-ed in the New York Compost. Hegseth says, we must spend big on defense to save America's economic might. Double think much? Yeah, we're in a wartime economy. Hegseth went on to say, apparently this was an op-ed authored by him. I have a hard time believing that, but whatever. Part of the racketeering extortion racket known as the Department of War. He says urgency, speed, efficiency, competition, and lethality. These are the new guiding principles of our War Department. This moment requires defense hawks and physical hawks to pull together, and I'm proud to call myself both. Like literal Orwellian double think. You can't be a defense hawk and a physical hawk and throw $1.5 trillion down a black hole of unaudited Pentagon finances. But somehow, some way, Pete Hegseth's making the claim he's both a defense hawk and a physical hawk. He goes on to say our growing national debt is indeed a threat. That's evident to me as a taxpayer, as a cabinet secretary. So unlike Pentagons of the past, we're leading the way on fiscal discipline. That's why they want the biggest budget ever, $1.5 trillion. Spending taxpayer money wisely. This is not comedy. He's trying to be serious here. Yet the single greatest threat to America's national security today is underinvestment in military spending. If America loses its unquestionable military edge, no amount of fiscal austerity can maintain the nation's economic health. Showing you he either is willfully ignorant or literally has no idea how the economy actually operates here now. That's why President Trump's proposed $1.5 trillion fiscal year 2027 defense budget, a generational investment in cutting-edge military advancement, is my department's #1 priority. I just can't take anymore. He goes on. I'll link to it for those interested. But yeah, it's a black hole of it's a handout to the military-industrial complex. But hey, anything to beat China in the new Cold War here now. And they're still promising someday, some way. I think at the end of next year we'll get a financial audit. They say they'll pass. I don't think the Pentagon will be up. Their books are in such disorder and so bad they can't even pass an audit. They're unauditable. The accounting firms have said now since 2018. So the books, because they've done so much fraud, so much money laundering, so much theft that you can't even audit their books. But we're promised by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth by 2027, everything's going to be straight, and the Pentagon's going to provide audited financial statements to the public. Sure. Yeah, they rugged it and continue to rug here now, the SpaceX IPO. And we warned you about this at Weaponized News at the time. It was self-evident. If you bought SpaceX on the open market anytime after 5 minutes from IPO, you are now underwater. Thanks for playing. And so, of course, the big money all sold right here when they all were on the conference call, and all Joe Blow retail investors got rugged. You are the exit liquidity, as they say, and you can see the steady decline there of SpaceX pump and dump rug pull scheme. Google is being added to the Dow Jones, replacing Verizon as they continue to rig the stock market. Their semiconductor stocks now account for a record 18.8% of S&P 500's market cap, according to Bloomberg. It's literally just made up circle jerk of microchips. A microchip circle jerk is what 20% of the S&P is. Imagine that. Remember that when Trump is touting the stock market. NVIDIA has announced a warm water cooling system that it says can dramatically reduce the amount of water a data center uses, eliminating pretty much all water usage inside the data center. Yeah, NVIDIA says a lot of things. I don't believe them. Zuckerberg out of Meta directed Meta to create prediction markets app. Meta suspended its Model Capability Initiative, MCI, an internal AI training program that tracked U.S. employees' keystrokes, clicks, and mouse movements after an internal security issue exposed sensitive employee data across the entire organization. They're literally spying on their own employees to get data. Talk about data junkies. You got to say that Meta and old Zuckerberg are the worst, strung out on data, even spying on their own employees there. Oracle workforce shrinks by about 21,000 employees amid AI adoption layoffs, according to Reuters. The Trump administration is offering $17.5 billion in low-cost loans to help finance the construction of 10 new Westinghouse AP1000 nuclear reactors across the United States. And it's not to power your air conditioning, it's to power the surveillance centers to build out technocracy, as we continue to report here now, the Greater North America Project. Job cuts at U.S. factories ran near the highest level since the end of the global financial crisis in 2019 and the BAT times, according to CNBC. But we're told by the Trump administration that it's the greatest economy ever in the golden age. Here's that headline out of CNBC. Factory job cuts in June near financial crisis and BAT levels, S&P says. How could that be? Trump says it's the greatest economy ever. The big story here now, digital euro clears key hurdle as EU seeks to break free from U.S. credit cards. Report out of Reuters. The European Central Bank secured key preliminary backing earlier today for the launch of a digital euro, an electronic means of payments aimed at making the Eurozone less reliant on U.S. credit cards at a time of fraying transatlantic relationships. The digital euro, essentially an electronic wallet guaranteed by the central bank, but marketed by banks or fintech companies, will allow all Eurozone residents to make payments online and in person. 6 years in the making, the ECB's digital cash has become a more pressing issue since Donald Trump's return to the White House, slapping tariffs on even established trade partners such as the European Union, and raising fears that the U.S. could one day weaponize its dominance over payment networks like Visa and MasterCard. We've already weaponized the dollar, might as well weaponize that as well. The approval of draft rules by the Economic Committee of the European Parliament comes after 3 years of wrangling between the European Central Bank and banks, which have been concerned about deposit outflows and lost revenues, and sought, to limit the scope of the project. The introduction of the digital euro would reduce over-reliance on non-European providers by becoming a pan-European means of payment, and would bring the single currency into the digital era by giving union citizens the freedom to opt to pay with central bank money in their daily transactions. The draft regulation says final approval by year end. That's what the European Central Bank is shooting for. The ECB, which plans to run a 12-month pilot of the digital euro starting in the second half of next year before a full launch in 2029, said it looked forward to Parliament adopting its final position. So it's not all quite here yet, but they're turning the screws. They got a timetable, they got an agenda, and they're moving forward with this digital ID, mark of the beast. Can't buy or sell if we don't like what you say or do system. Now rolling out in Europe the digital ID, or the digital euro, part of the digital ID actually. It's going to all tie together into our lovely social credit score systems here in the West, because you have to be part of the B system or you shall be shunned from society. Not so good on the price of a gallon of gasoline, as we're still being price gouged by Rockefeller oil oligarchs here now. According to AAA, we're still at $3.93 on average across America for the price of a gallon of gasoline. You can see right here. And so it did not budge from yesterday. Did not budge there upon news of the Strait of Hormuz opening. I guess this one's done since the war is officially over, maybe. I don't know. The Brown University, Watson School of International and Public Affairs. It's, the household cost burden across both gasoline and diesel, I do believe, is up still. Maybe they're still tracking it as numbers are still coming in here now. You can see $472.17 per household since the beginning of the Iran war, February 28, 2026, and a cool $61.9 billion total consumer burden. Wait till we get the bill from the Pentagon. Wait till we get that bill. That is not, because they haven't even got the money. The 80 billion, additional 80 billion that is being requested by Pete Hegseth out of the Department of War. That's not even part of the $61.9 billion total consumer burden since the beginning of the Iran war. So a lot more money to be spent. China urges BRICS cooperation on AI, Ebola, and global challenges. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi earlier today urged BRICS countries to work together in addressing global challenges ranging from Ebola to artificial intelligence, while also deepening cooperation on strategic mineral resources. Wang said during a meeting in India that BRICS nations should coordinate responses to global energy and food security pressures and jointly tackle the Ebola outbreak in Africa. Most evil man in the world, Putin, right? YouTube? Sure he is. Putin said Russia is ready for peace negotiations with Ukraine based on the Istanbul agreements. Putin also said the Western countries haven't yet reached the point where they'd launch anything from their own territories. They understand that there would be a retaliatory strike. I think everyone understands that, or should understand that. That's why they try to distance themselves from this in every possible way. For instance, when some drones fly into the Baltic Sea, into the Baltic states, they still don't point their finger at Moscow. They say it's a Ukrainian drone, an error, a system glitch, or something else. We're waiting to see, after that big attack on Russian petroleum, we showed you the crazy videos of it. We're waiting for Russia response to that retaliatory strike against Ukraine. They need to end it, man. They need to end it already. We've heard this talk from both sides, from Zelensky and Putin. Oh, we're going to do peace negotiations. And then a giant attack. One of them does on the other. As that war drags on, tragically enough. Let's pray for peace there in Ukraine-Russia war. There was a massive disruption across Germany today. Train service was halted across Germany today. The EU hosted Taliban representatives in Brussels earlier today for their first official meeting in Europe since the group returned to power in 2021. EU officials said the task force focused on improving cooperation over the return of Afghanistan nationals whose asylum claims were rejected, while the Taliban sought discussions on consular services and broader engagement. Belgium granted the Taliban delegation a one-day visa limited to its territory, report out of Reuters. UK officials suppressed intel exposing Sudan genocide to protect lucrative UAE ties. British authorities suppressed critical intelligence and obstructed international intervention to shield the UAE from accountability for its backing of the genocide of non-Arab tribes in Sudan, according to information revealed during a parliamentary committee hearing earlier today out of the UK. UK facilitated genocidal campaign in Sudan to protect lucrative diplomatic ties with Dubai. Shocking, I know. President Trump signs executive order to accelerate U.S. quantum innovation and strengthen security. That was yesterday. We covered it. Yeah, not much more about it. Who is these guys putting it out, touting it? More propaganda out of the White House. They give a little summary of it. Yeah, it's all bad for us. They're building technocracy. Laser weapons here now. Laser weapons exclusive. Pentagon demonstrates laser weapons for Pete Hegseth. The U.S. military fired several high-energy laser and high-powered microwave weapons for Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth earlier today. It's being reported here. Who's this from? Laser Wars, Jarrett Keller on the Substack. The demonstration, which occurred at the U.S. Army's White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, was attended by Hegseth and Undersecretary Michael, we have dramatically increased investment in scaling directed energy technologies, signaling to our manufacturing partners that the War Department is focused on delivering rapid solutions to the war fighter, Michael said in a statement when reached for comment by Laser Wars. We are directly tackling manufacturability, reliability, and integration, areas that have challenged transition under previous administrations, Michael said. And they go through here, according to a source familiar with the demonstration, participating directed energy weapons include the Army multi-purpose high energy laser AMP HEL based on AV's 20 kilowatt locus laser weapon system, the P5 version of the Army's 50 kilowatt directed energy maneuver short range air defense laser weapon system from Enlight, the 300 kilowatt indirect fire protection capability high energy laser from Lockheed Martin known as Valkyrie, an indirect fire protection capability high powered microwave system based on the Lenatus from Empress, and a high-powered microwave variant of Raytheon's Coyote interceptor, likely the Block 3 non-kinetic system. So they had some fun over there in New Mexico shooting off lasers and other directed energy weapons earlier today, all while extorting the American people out of $1.5 trillion for our own safety and security, of course. All part of laser wars. And I do find it interesting now the Department of War publicly brags about directed energy weapons, where for the last 30 years they said, you're a crazy person even if you even mention such things. Now they openly brag about it. That's how it goes, isn't it? Isn't that how it goes? And then the Department of War, a hangover from yesterday, put out this meme of the day. Today, quantum dominance. Quantum dominance. Continuing here. Where are we at? About a half hour left. I had to keep it to 2 hours today, guys. Here is the Department of War bragging about it. The Department of War is securing directed energy dominance, as showcased by today's live testing of advanced laser and microwave systems at White Sands Missile Range. Here they are, again, bragging about it. Through the scaled directed energy critical technologies area, the department is rapidly scaling these systems to empower our war fighters to fight beyond the limits of traditional magazine capacity. There's a quasi-secret drug war going on in Mexico, Central and South America, ongoing here now, as the Department of War, U.S. Southern Command, continues to post. U.S. military service members are taking part in jungle operation training course in Panama, strengthening readiness and regional health security. National Guard members from 6 states are participating in Amistad, a global health engagement exercise in Paraguay the last week and a half there. Child under 12 is euthanized in the Netherlands. Report out of the Daily Mail: for the first time since a change in law in the Netherlands, a child under the age of 12 has been euthanized. The death of the child was confirmed by the country's health minister. It was presented in the annual report by the committee that reviews all late-term abortions and medically assisted deaths of children to the parliament yesterday. According to the report, the child was under the age of 12 and had been seriously ill, but no further details were given. Assisted dying for terminally ill sick children aged from 1 to 12 has been legal for 2 years in the Netherlands. Before the change in the law, only newborns and those over 12 could be euthanized. And so we do appreciate the liberalization of euthanization laws in the Netherlands. Get them while they're young. Here's a clip from Tucker and this preacher. Should we even play it? They're out there trying to sell the Tucker wing of right wingers are trying to sell us JD Vance that he's the rational man in the room and the guy that we should be looking at for 2028. No, JD Vance is not the rational man in the room. He's Mr. Technocracy installed by Musk and Deal. And so for all of Trump's misgivings and orangeness, at least he's his own asshole controlled by Aardvark land. The next asshole, JD Vance, will be controlled directly by Musk and Peter Thiel. And this horrific report out of the UN. It's also quite horrific, isn't it? The essence of childhood has been destroyed. Aardvark land's deliberate targeting of Palestinian children in the occupied Palestinian territory since October 7, 2023. Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem and Aardvark land. 94-page report out of the UN dropped today, out of the UN Human Rights Council. So we need to sanction and drone the UN, obviously, due to this transgression. And it made big headlines here in America. They say, you're anti-septic. The DOJ is going to investigate you. And you're like, but they're genociding children. Nope, you're anti-septic. But here out of France, headline reads, Palestinian children deliberately targeted by Aardvark land in ongoing genocide. UK Independent, a UN inquiry says Aardvark land is committing genocide in Gaza. How many UN reports do we need? I think that's been well established. Here's a spokesman from the UN about this report. UN Human Rights Council investigative body. Aardvark land has killed over 20,000 children and injured 44,000 more since October 7, 2023. Let's hear this short video clip from the UN. This guy needs to be sanctioned and droned immediately for his anti-septic report.
The Commission found indisputable evidence with regards to the deliberate, targeted killing of Palestinian children, including since the October 2025 ceasefire, the use of torture, inhumane and degrading treatment, including use of sexual and gender-based violence against Palestinian children, as well as targeting of critical infrastructure essential to children such as orphanages, healthcare, and educational facilities. There has been a widespread and systematic killing and harming of children between 7th October 2023 and 7th October 2025 we have witnessed more than 20,000 children who've been killed and more than 44,000 children who've been injured. Children constitute 30% of all those killed in OPT, and the killing and injuring of children has been a continuing activity.
And it's way worse than that. Those are just the official numbers. It's way worse than that. In the report, some more details. An aardvark drone targeted a 10-day-old baby with a sniper rifle. The baby is one of 60,000 plus child casualties. There's been no accountability for their deaths. Here's the excerpt from the UN report. The 10-day-old baby terrorist there in Gaza, living in a tent at a refugee camp. I guess if you question it too much here in America, DOJ task force will be knocking at your door for anti-Septicism. You're like, but they're murdering 10-year-old or 10-day-old babies. Nope, you're anti-Septic. New UN Independent Commission report identifies a number of cases of Palestinian children deliberately killed by Aardvark land forces and names the units responsible. They're naming names. It's all documented, cited, academic, as per the United Nations. And so here's a snapshot of that. The Kerf Brigade, the 162 Division, the 401st Brigade, the 98th Brigade, multi-dimensional units, 888, the 99th Division. You can see they name them all there. Who did what? And again, it's way worse than that. But how dare you criticize any of it? Dawn Clancy on the X said, I have 3 questions today for Aardvark land people. Through this press conference, I want to speak to them directly. Oh, this is this UN commissioner dude. Just a post about it. This dude, Sid Audi. He said, what kind of people are your soldiers who would allow a 14-year-old child to bleed to death over a 45-minute time period? What kind of people are your military leaders who would inculcate a culture that soldiers feel free to do this, acting with total impunity? What kind of people are your leaders when they give orders? They make statements that encourage this kind of conduct, not merely permit it, but encourage it. Well, I think we know now, don't we? And then, of course, here's the post from the UN, United Nations Geneva. There, the evidence shows that Palestinian children have been deliberately killed and targeted by Aardvark land security forces. And again, it's laid out in great detail in this 94-page report. I'll link to it at Weaponized News Substack for those with the stomach to go ahead and take a look. And you can see here, all laid out, very professional, very academic, all their sources cited here. And of course, Aardvarks will lie and say that none of this is true. And it's not only true, it's even worse than this. AFP, Aardvark land deliberate targeting of children, part of ongoing Gaza genocide. You don't say. as we continue to report here to you every day at Weaponized News. This is why I'm saying sanction. They did sanction UN rapporteur Albanese, right? When she put out those two big reports blaming the countries complicit in the genocide and the companies. Here they are at the Aardvark conference, bragging about the sanctions on her, essentially locking her out of the Western banking system. And they're very proud of this.
Francesca Albanese, the UN rapporteur on Palestine. As you know, I don't have to tell this audience, she has said that America is controlled by the Jewish lobby. On October 7th, she defended Hamas, said there's a context, and every 5 minutes on Twitter, she is echoing the worst blood libels against Israel. She is the leading purveyor of the genocide libel. We are fighting back. We are fighting back. We have exposed her. We have exposed her hateful remarks. She is now the first UN rapporteur in history to have been condemned by France, Germany, Canada, the Netherlands, the UK, Argentina, Hungary, the US, and many other countries, Latvia, Estonia, many other countries. And each condemnation matters. And we led a campaign. We got 120,000 people, including many here, who signed our petition asking Secretary Rubio to take action when the UN failed to act. Secretary Rubio announced for the first time in history.
They condemned her because she implicated them as being complicit in the genocide. They leave that part out, the lying aardvarks, as per usual. There's another clip they're bragging about how great it is that she's essentially locked out of a Western banking system. I don't have that clip. What do we got left here? I think we should play this one. Old clown fat man out of Congressman Randy Fine out of Florida. He's saying that J.D. Vance owes the American people an apology for his offensive criticism. I guess we play this. I mean, so this is a sitting congressman. Randy Fine.
Look, I think the vice president owes the American people an apology. I mean, making an offensive statement that Israel only exists because the United States created it.
It's wrong. The United States did not create it, but okay. They love to twist the facts. Here's a Aardvarkland Diaspora Affairs Minister at the Aardvark says Aardvark security forces in Canada, Australia, and elsewhere should be allowed to carry guns all over the place in response to rising threats. So they're a special group, you see. They are Aardvark supremacists above the rest of us lower people, the Goy, as we're referred to by these supremacists. And they should have special rights. And they probably will have special rights in this country.
When we are dealing with the security forces of the Jewish community, they're not allowed to carry weapons in Canada. We also, back in Michigan, what is the meaning of armed security that can prevent horrific incidents? So this is very, very important. By the way, in Bondi Beach, you have in Australia, they can carry weapons, but only in the institutions. But since the event was on the beach, so they were unarmed. So weapons, carrying weapons is very important, that the security forces of the community will be armed. It can save lives, because if they had guns in Bondi Beach, it wouldn't take 12 endless minutes of massacre to do something. Okay? So with Canada, it was clear that it's about to happen, and I hope that Carney and his government will do something.
They get everything that happens to them is the worst thing ever. They're actively genociding Palestinian children. The U.S. has eased restrictions on Iran's World Cup team, allowing the squad to travel 2 days before its next match. Ben Gavir says, my solution is to do to today's Nazis what you did to the Nazis. And so everybody that's against them's a Nazi and anti-Semitic. It's the same. And you're like, dude, there's a giant report, video after video of you genociding people, and they call you the Nazi for saying that's wrong. That's where we're at. That's where we're at here. U.S. ends Aardvarkland unrestricted freedom of action in Lebanon. Aardvarkland Channel 13 reported that Washington has ended Aardvarkland's previously unrestricted military freedom of action in Lebanon with new operational restrictions imposed amid growing pressure from the Trump administration. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how long that lasts. Citing a senior Aardvarkland official, the report said the message from Washington in recent weeks was clear. You had the right to operate without restrictions, and that's over. The report added that the new measures contradict Shadow President of America, Bibi, repeated claims that Aardvarkland retains full operational control in Lebanon. Under the new directives, Aardvarkland forces may continue operating within the so-called yellow line against direct threats, but are barred from carrying out operations in more distant locations, including Beirut and the southern Lebanese city of Tyre. Yeah, let's see if they stick to that. I have my doubts. I have serious doubts. Let's hope. Let's hope they do stick to it. Iran has tied any peace agreement to a total end of Aardvarkland's war on Lebanon, turning the country into what is being described as the kill switch in the negotiations. We've been saying that the entire time because it's self-evident, right? And Iran has said that as much as well. Lebanon and Aardvarkland begin fifth round of peace talks there in Washington amid ongoing Aardvarkland aggression. Aardvarkland continues to occupy strategic pockets of southern Lebanon, and Aardvarkland attacks since March 2nd have killed over 4,100 Lebanese and forcibly displaced mass swaths of the population. More back and forth here. Aardvarkland occupation forces opened fire on a number of civilians on the outskirts of southern Lebanese town Had Atha, who were heading to a burial at the town cemetery accompanied by a Lebanese army. Reports indicate that 3 Merkava tanks and a D9 bulldozer were positioned near the cemetery. They're still whacking people. A young man has been killed and 2 others injured after Aardvarkland forces opened machine gun fire at them near an excavator working in southern Lebanon. I guess they felt threatened. Some video of that attack. So all they have to do is say, I felt threatened. They're like, whack 20,000 kids. Okay. So it's calmed down a little bit, the carpet bombing campaign of southern Lebanon. It's still a little bit of action going on, but thankfully it's calmed down a little bit. They're off in the distance. You can see another airstrike there. What was that in? That was in southern Lebanon. Lebanese journalist. This dude is he's a soldier, right? Because he already got hit by shrapnel, had multiple injuries. This dude, Hadi Hatit. This dude's back up reporting. They want to whack this guy, right? Remember we showed images of his stitched up leg, and so he took multiple shrapnel hits from aardvark land attacks. But he's out there still reporting. He put out a long report. Obviously, we don't have time to play it there, but touring the apocalyptic hellscape of southern Lebanon here now, reporting from the rubble. I'll post a link at Weaponized News Substack for those interested. Pretty amazing. So it's ongoing. It has calmed down. What was the exact language they use again? Unrestricted freedom of action. We'll see how that holds. Again, all I got to do is say, I was threatened, bang. Kind of the routine there. But hey, better than full-on carpet bombing campaigns being carried out. So maybe, I guess it is progress when we're looking at it in those terms. Former Aardvark Land PM reveals Tel Aviv smuggled tens of thousands of Starlink devices into Iran. He said this at that Aardvark Syndicate conference. And I think they were looking for confirmation. We don't have confirmation. But yeah, it probably is true. Because old Elon Musk Starlink company is not just to give the kids internet access. It's military-industrial complex company. They're weaponized for war, for killing people. The Iranians are using low-frequency electromagnetic weapon to influence President Trump's decisions. That claim was made by celebrity psychic Uri Geller on Aardvark Land Channel 14. He said that Iran utilized low-frequency mind waves to manipulate U.S. President Trump into signing the 14-point Islamabad memorandum on June 17. Geller asserted that the alleged telepathic interference caused a sudden behavioral shift in the U.S. president, leading to the signing of the agreement. It couldn't be the fact that Trump could see the writing on the wall of the gas prices alone in this country were pushing people over the edge. The gas prices alone. Yeah, but what the hell? I believe this celebrity psychic Aardvark Uri Geller that they're using the directed energy weapons on Trump here now out of Iran. That's the claim they're making there. Okay, where are we at? Gaza. I got to wrap this up quickly here. They're still whacking the Palestinians in Gaza, quite tragically enough. How many Aardvark Land drone is targeted Kianis, southern Gaza Strip. The airstrike hit a tent near the Al-Attar area, resulting in at least one fatality and several injuries. They're bombing refugees in tents. As we continue to report, Gaza's Ministry of Health said earlier today that 4 Palestinians were killed and 20 others were wounded in Aardvark Land attacks across the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours, including 2 newly killed, 1 who died from previous injuries, and 1 recovered from underneath the rubble. Since the so-called ceasefire on October 11th, the Gaza Ministry of Health has recorded 1,027 Palestinians killed, 3,028 wounded, and 785 bodies recovered from the rubble. The genocide continues. And there is footage, I'm not going to show it, of a young child. This report doesn't show the age. Very young, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, laid up in the hospital bed, arms, legs blown off, the whole routine, suffering from shrapnel wounds from a missile. It's all quite horrific. Aardvark military launches mass arrest, digital crackdown in the occupied West Bank earlier today. Aardvark military detained at least 21 Palestinians during simultaneous midnight raids in the occupied West Bank. They're turning the screws there as we continue to report. They're going about a systemic demolition campaign of Palestinian homes carried out with bulldozers. There's a video of a husband holding back his wife as they can do nothing but sit back and watch their home being demolished by Aardvark land backhoes. I guess we'll show this short clip. Aardvark land occupation forces demolish the storefronts of commercial shops in the Sufat refugee camp on the outskirts of occupied Jerusalem. I'll show you a little bit of that great construction going on there. Again, leveling the place. So if they don't bomb you in the rubble, they just drive their backhoes and big tractors in there and heavy equipment, and they'll demolish the buildings they didn't blow up with bombs. Going about the systemic ethnic cleansing and genocide campaign there, building the Greater Aardvark Land Project as we continue to report. I don't know how long this is going to stick. We shall see. My prediction, not very long. All right, let's go over to get some headlines out of Iran International. Trump says he'd cancel negotiations if Iran rejects IAEA inspections. That's a major sticking point for the made-up nuke hoax. South Korean vessels exit Strait of Hormuz. Even president ignores armed forces success against U.S., Iranian PM says. Iran deal gives more funds than Aardvark land receives in over a decade. Neocon war criminal Mark Levin, fake radio host over here in America, literal foreign agent, now critical of peace with Iran. Iranian activist says life marked by hardship under clerical rule. U.S. could finish the job if Iran is not smart, Trump says. He keeps those threats going, doesn't he? And then finally, Al Jazeera, U.S.-Iran at odds over nuclear oversight, Strait of Hormuz after Swiss talks. Yeah. Well, those are going to be further negotiating points here now. Moving forward, Aardvark land believes U.S.-Iran MOU has given Hezbollah a new lease on life. Palestine calls for accountability over Aardvark land's targeting of children. Who will hold them accountable? It should be America. We love it here. Don't be an antiseptic. All right. Let me head over to the channels quickly, and then we'll sign off on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Let's head over to Odysee now. It does look like Odysee has sorted out the bugs. The interface is different than it used to be. It's taken me a minute to get used to. Shout out to Odysee audience. And in the chat over there. Shout out to Fat Bob, Huffman, Pink. Thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up over there. Huffman says, is that traveling Epstein library in DC while everyone is looking at the pool? I think it is. I don't know what is where it's at compared to the pool, but yeah, it is there. Test. Shout out to Test there. Huffman posted a image there in the chat. This is my favorite scan from old sketchbook I inherited. Oh, that is nice, Huffman. Sam, if you can deliver me a t-shirt, I'm getting one. Should be able to deliver it. I just don't think my poultry Bitcoin holdings going to make me a millionaire in my lifetime. Bitcoin down today, too. Sadly enough, everything's down today. I need to cook up some more designs. I think I will cook up some more t-shirt designs. By law, Treasury is to mint silver eagles, and the price of silver took a massive dump today. It did. I saw that down like around $60. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, all the way down. I still haven't gotten over Gulf of America, Fat Bob says. Oh, man. I hear you, Bob. I can't say that, but I hear you. Now show the fat guy from the Bank of International Settlement saying we need to track your spending. I hear you, Huffman. I know the clip you're talking about. Yeah, but it's not quite here yet. But they're getting all the ducks in the row, and they're rolling out digital euro, and we're next. They're not gonna call it central bank digital currency. They're gonna call it stable coin, some other name. But yeah. We're going to get the same treatment here by another name. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee, X, Kick, Facebook, Substack, Rumble, and YouTube. Let's see here. Shout out to A-Dub on the YouTube. Shout out to Karen on the Rumble. Shout out to Ruckus on the YouTube. Stuart. Shout out to Stuart. Trump can't seem to finish anything he starts, which makes him clickbait. They're reaching. They're really reaching and looking desperate. Now, shout out to Snow. Snow's going down the Antarctica rabbit hole. Shout out to Denver. Shout out to Phil on the Rumble. Trump will finish deporting the illegals, that's for sure. Sure he will. Haha, they're doing the MK Ultra stuff on the same day, I think, as when they temporarily are shutting down CERN for like a week, Ruckus says. We look forward to that next week. Next Tuesday, they're going to kick off the MK Ultra hearings. What does Boris say? Deport all immigrants, legal and illegal. I don't know if we can deport the legal ones, but illegal, I agree with you. Deport all illegal aliens. What the dickens is CERN? Large Hadron Collider. Shout out to Mac on the YouTube. Shout out to Chloe. Trump needs the reporter who said they're saying, let's go, Brandon. The flamingos versus the pink flamingos. Max said, young adult mutant ninja flamingos. Microsoft and Aardvark Land, Epstein and Aardvark Land, Mr. Boston says, yeah. Epstein and Trump and Clinton's, etc. Yep. Peter Thiel and Epstein, yep. Peter Thiel and Aardvark Land, yep. Yes, they buy dead babies for $70,000 each. Yep, Bannon. Yep. Kushner's, yep. We name them all here, Mr. One Boston. We've named them all here many times. It's the Epstein administration, essentially. Can't hear inaudible. I don't know what clip that was. Apologies. You died. Thank you for playing SpaceX IPO. Indeed. Indeed there. Throw up some prayers for Plutonium. Says he's in the hospital and needs to get stitches on his finger. I will put out a prayer for you there, Plutonium. Shout out to ZO. Ow, that sounds painful. Plutonium's tough. Says I do construction, so I figured I could show my savage hand if I can. Just grateful I'm not getting bombed. That's where we're at, right? At least we're not getting bombed. Jeez. Mac says, who was the... I don't know. We played a couple of them. They had a big conference. The last couple of days. A lot of clips of their treachery coming out of there. The best play, the guy that tracks it the best, in my opinion, is Information Liberation. Chris Meehan on the X. He posts their conferences like they have. There's no giant conspiracy, but they have meetings every other day and big conferences where they openly talk about their treachery to the rest of us. But there's no conspiracy and they don't control anything. But again, Information Liberation, Chris Meehan is doing a great job documenting all of the aardvark treachery at their meetings that they don't have, but they have them every other day. All right, friends, thank you for tuning in on this Tuesday edition. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening, and we'll be back here on